So I was really hoping you guys who can see me because I'm right here.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah.
If you feel it,
I love the original so much. I wonder, how was your relationship with the original Twister, and what was the feeling when you found out you were cast for this one?
I mean, when I remember watching it when I was a kid. I grew up in Texas, and so it was like definitely a seminal movie in Texas. Texas is part of Tornado Alley, and so I had sort of experiences with in and around tornadoes and not in tornadoes around tornadoes. But I felt the same way you did. Watching the original Twisters, there's so many like iconic moments from that movie that you just don't forget. They're great movie moments, but also it's not like a superhero movie where you're never gonna cross paths with Thanos. You know what I mean? But you can cross paths. These are real, these are real threats of the natural world and in a real place with real people that actually chase these things. And I find that to be way more compelling. So yeah, I think when a movie, you don't forget about it into adulthood, even if you've watched it once as a child, there's something, special there.
Isaac, how challenging was it for you to make a movie that honors the original and what it represents for the fans, but also feels original and fresh to the new audience?
Yeah, I felt a lot of fear going into this because I'm a fan of that original movie as well. And I just wanted to make sure that we honor that first film and get it right. But I also felt, as I was working on this film, the way that I can honor it is to make sure to try to make this original and make it my own. So the way that I worked on it was to just try to be myself with making this film, but to definitely show my love for the first one. So I tried to put in some Easter eggs and little bits of dialogue and bits of nostalgia, just out of my own personal love for that first film.
Was always part of the plan to make just not the original movie, or did you guys talk about bringing someone from the old cast?
Yeah, when I signed on to this film, there was never a discussion about bringing anyone into this one. It seemed that this is where the producers and studios were with this project. And when I read the script, I was very excited to see that it was fresh and new, and that it felt like it was paying homage to the first one, but that it really was original and it felt like it was for today. That was definitely one of the reasons why I took on the project.
What was the thing that made you fall in love with the script and with your characters the first time you read?
I mean, I think my first introduction to it was the fact that Isaac was going to be directing it. And I was such a huge fan of Isaac as a filmmaker. I mean, I loved Minari, and I thought it was really interesting that he wanted to take on something of this scale, coming from a more kind of character-driven background. And so when I read the character of Kate and I saw kind of her emotional arc and that it's really a journey of coming home, both to a place but to yourself, I think there was something really exciting, I think, in how deep these characters were, how singular, how they all had their different demons that they were battling. And I think it was really fun to do something of this scale, but also ground it with complete characters and root it, in truth in that way. So yeah.
Anthony, how was it for you?
My character was different on the page than when than what he turned out to be when we shot the film. But I really I don't know. I just read the script and I saw this really cool potential for this character. I felt like he was really dynamic, and there were some things that I felt like I could add if given the opportunity. And Isaac was really cool about having that conversation, and he was really collaborative in that way. And he really just let me give as many ideas as possible and took the good ones and left the bad ones. And I'm really proud of what we were able to create in the end product with Javi.
Great. Daisy, you actually went to Storm Chase after you did the movie, is that correct?
We did, yeah.
Yeah, how was it for you? Glenn, Anthony, would you consider doing that?
Well, actually, yeah. So actually, we're all on a group chat with a bunch of storm chasers because so many of them were in the film. That we had a lot of background artists and actors and extras who were storm chasers and then lots of people there to consult with us. So we all got a text from Sean, who's one of our lead consultants, being like, it's a crazy weather event coming. I mean, it felt like a scene from the movie, honestly. Like, come through to Oklahoma if you want to see something. And so Glenn and I and Brandon from the film happened to be free. Anthony wasn't, but I'm sure you'll come if you can. If you can face it. you're like no.
No, next time I'll go.
Next time,
Sure.
yeah. But we chased the storm all the way to Kansas, and it was like, it genuinely so thrilling. I mean, it was so exciting to see how accurately I think we had captured what it is to really chase on camera. You know, I felt like the way in which they interacted, you know, Sean and his wife who were chasing, the way in which they spoke about the hook on the radar and the Doppler, and, you know, making a decision between which storm cell, there was 2 storm cells to chase, and which one to go for. It really was like, oh wow, this is kind of what it was like in the film. And so yeah, it was really amazing. I mean, we haven't seen a tornado yet though, so I'm definitely desperate to go back, but see it from a very safe distance, I think, for sure.
Well, I think that's another thing, is to see that up close after you shoot. Because look, we'd done so much research on weather, and like you had all these advisors and experts on set to kind of guide it, but to actually go storm chasing afterwards, you really were like, oh, we got it right. You know what I mean? Even down to just like how people snack in the car on these road trips and how they interact. There's like
The soundtrack.
Yeah, the soundtrack. It's all the soundtrack is so important on a long road trip. You know, again, it's the cowboy scientist thing that everybody talks about. Like, one part of it is this sort of rowdy Southern, you know, adrenaline filled thing. And the other part, you watch them truly sending up weather balloons and looking at radar and, like, you know, all the just pages of like sort of like Excel looking spreadsheets trying to figure out dew points and pressure and all these different things. So it's an interesting collision of worlds that I was just felt very honored that we could kind of be a part of, because it made us realize that we really got it right.
I know you grew up in a part of the USA that used to these storms, these things. How important was it for you to in the making of this movie?
Yeah, I grew up in Northwest Arkansas, and it's right outside of Tornado Alley. But you know, lately Tornado Alley has been going east, so now many maps show that where I grew up is right inside Tornado Alley. We always had tornado alarms, and we had tornado warnings during the summer. It was just a reality of growing up there. I just grew up with a lot of respect for nature and a lot of respect for damage that happens for people's lives, what these disasters can do. And I just tried to bring all of that experience and perspective into this film, just based on my own personal experiences with it.
What do you think is about the disaster film genre that works so well for the audience, no matter what decade, what age we are?
Yeah, I think there's something about the disaster movies that help us to see ourselves more clearly. It's a way to think about the things that scare us the most, and to make us think about what would it feel like to lose everything, or to be under that threat, and ultimately to come out the other side and feel alive and human. So a lot of disaster films, they're scary, but they also feel like they give you life. They give you adventure. They give you a lot of fun. So I love watching them. I feel like they're somehow a good film for right now, that we should be watching some disaster movies these days.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And how challenging was for you to cast your cast? I mean, bringing names like Daisy Edgar Jones, Glenn Powell. How was it? How was the process?
It was a dream come true, to be honest. This cast is incredible, and I'm so touched that they all said yes, that they all came on board at the right time, and that their schedules were open at this time. I really feel like we lucked out. All of those actors balance each other so well, and they're such good performers. And they're just people you want to spend time with. And I certainly felt that way, because I made this movie with them in Oklahoma, and we spent a lot of time together, and we all really became like family on this film. And I feel like audiences are going to fall in love with these guys just as I have.
I need to wrap up, but just to end this, what is the thing that you are most excited to see, for the people to see in Twisters?
I've been telling everybody behind the scenes when we're working on this movie that we want to immerse people. We want them to feel like they're going into a storm, going into a tornado. And I'm kind of excited for audiences to have that brush with nature, to go inside of a tornado and to experience that, and to just have a fun ride. So that's what I'm excited for. I just hope it's a nice theater experience.